We don't. We're going to give 10 minutes to General Feichtinger. Walter Feichtinger is Brigadier General at the Austrian Armed Forces, and he's also Director of the Institute for Peace Support and Conflict Management at the Austrian National Defense Academy. And he also teaches political science and journalism. He holds a PhD from the University of Vienna. He serves as a member of the Science Commission in Vienna. He also has been a member of the Austrian Ministry of Defense, a member of the board of the European Forum ALPAC, the International Institute for Strategic Studies, a founding member of the International Society of Military Sciences, and he is an expert in Austrian, European, and international security policy, and an expert in the analysis of armed conflicts and strategic impact, international crisis, and conflict management. He is very widely published and is recognized widely as a scholar in his field, and it's really a privilege to have him as a commentator today, and we really look forward to his insights. Dr. Feichtinger, thank you very much. Let's welcome him.
Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, what an honor for me to be here and to give some thoughts to you and some remarks on the presentations. It's not the usual situation for me because usually I get comments from my wife. And now I have the outstanding situation to give comments on excellent presentations of the two ladies. Thank you, really an outstanding situation. We're talking about peace. What is the background? Why we are talking about peace? The background and the reality is that we are witnessing every year, more than 30 wars or armed conflicts, and close to 200 violent crises, maybe in danger of coming to the next step, and the next step is an armed conflict. So that is the background, why we are talking about peace. And as a research director of an institute that is dealing with international crisis management and conflict management, we have several findings. And the first finding, and I want to say it is the first comment from my side, is we cannot bring peace from outside. Peace has to come from inside. What you can do from outside as an external actor is to stop bombing, to stop fighting, to stop shooting, to bring parties, conflict parties to the negotiation table. But peace, you cannot achieve as an external actor. It has to come from the country, from the population, from the civil society, from the political leaders, so to speak. That is a very important lesson, because when we are talking about peace, we have to be aware it has to come from inside, and we have to contribute to that. But we cannot achieve it by our own. So, when shooting ends, the battle for peace starts, I would say. And that is the battle from inside with external support. And the people, that is clear, are a decisive element in that context. Are they supportive? Are they confrontive to the political leaders? What do they want? What do they stand for? What do they urge for to be done in their country? The second part, the second comment on that is, we are living in an era of a rapid, unbelievable change. We are not really aware of that, what it will bring in the final outcome. What do I mean by saying that? We are living in real time. So message control is not really a thing of today, because everyone, every individual can send a message to the whole universal society and people and individuals. And it is a huge power, I would say, if you are able to send messages. And you have the opportunity and the option to mobilize people. We saw it in 2011, during the upheavals in the Arab region. Many of the people went to the street because they were alarmed, they were informed by social media of other individuals. It was not an official information, it was not by the state TV or so on, it was mainly by individual people who gave the information what is ongoing and sent signals to go to the street, to demonstrate, to protest, and so on and so forth. So message control doesn't work, and the people, the individual people who have all this instrument at hand can be a strong player in mobilizing people and creating messages. It has a huge impact in the political level, on the societal level, in the economic level, and for NGOs. We are here on the invitation of an NGO, formally speaking. And NGOs play really a more and more important role also regarded with peace. So, if you are more important, the other side of the coin is you have more responsibility. Because you cannot send messages only to mobilize people. You have to have really a message, not only information, you have to have a message. And you have to be aware what will this message, this information bring and mean to the simple people who receive that messages. So it's not only an option, it's also a fact of responsibility. We as individuals, we as groups, we as participants, as members of NGOs have. The third point and comment is on peace itself. Some people in Europe think that peace is given, is the usual status, the usual political status to live in peace. I say it's the opposite. It's a privilege to live in peace. And you have to be aware, and you have to do a lot for keeping peace. When we are looking at United Nations and United Nations peace operations and so on, we see how hard it is to come to peace and what does it mean, and only to do the first step in order to provide an environment for negotiations and so on, and that is not even peace. Peace is more than that. Peace is talking without weapons on your back. So the peace, from my understanding, is the overall, the most important goal a society and individual can have. And you have to be aware of that it is not given, that you have to do a lot for achieving peace and for sustaining peace. And that is for societies in Europe, and it is especially also for societies in any country, especially when it is affected by war or armed conflicts. So, in combination of the three facts, most of the armed conflicts and wars are intrastate conflicts. I mentioned the number of 30, above 30. So only 2 or 3 are interstate conflicts, conflicts between states. The huge number, more than 95%, are intrastate conflicts. Why do I emphasize this? Because it indicates that the role and the position of the society is the most important in conflicts that happen inside a country. Fine, thank you. If I'm early, is fine? Sure. If I do not take 3 minutes, only 2 is fine? Okay. So, we have social media. We can mobilize people. We have a lot of information that governments in any country cannot prevent us from getting this information. We have a goal. The goal should be peace. And we have a society that has to be aware that it has to play the most important role in gaining and in achieving peace. That is the background I would like to set from my personal understanding and the findings in our institute at the National Defense Academy in Vienna. That brings me to the 2 presentations, my ladies. And 2 points, 2 aspects I would like to raise as a question to both of you. The first one is, it was perfectly highlighted the important role of the United Nations excellent concepts, leading ideas, giving ideas to the regional organizations like African Union, like EU, and so on and so forth. And the problem at the end of the day is not a problem of understanding. The problem is always of making it going, of making it working. So to bring the concepts down to reality and make it done. And when I'm talking about the importance and the important role of societies, my question to both of you is, how can it work? How can you involve civil society, maybe only female groups, maybe individuals, maybe NGOs, in order to achieve an integrated approach as United Nations wants to have in the future? You mentioned music. Can music be an instrument, a tool, in order to mobilize civil society to participate in gaining peace, for example? The second one is, listening to both of your presentations, I always had the word reconciliation in my mind. Because if you have mainly domestic intrastate conflicts, reconciliation is the most important point to achieve the next step. Reconciliation is not as important, I would say, if you have a war and to end a war between states. You have regulations, you have international law, you have concepts and so on, but it is not as emotional as a war, as a conflict inside a state. So what do you think about reconciliation in the context of integrated approach and using civilian instruments for achieving that? Because I think it is a prerequisite for sustainable peace inside a country. Thank you.